Hello, thank you for joining me. So my name is Aaron Cloutier, and on behalf of AirGigs.com, I am going to show you 3 different ways to create a hook for your song to make it more memorable and stand out for your audience. Okay, so let's first define what a hook actually is. In essence, it is a very short musical idea, often just a little phrase or melodic motif designed to grab the listener's attention. These short little musical ideas are often repeated throughout the entirety of a piece of music to retain listener interest. Okay, so now let's talk about the types of hooks that are found in songs. There are actually many different types of hooks. Today, I'm going to focus on just 3, namely melodic vocal hooks, rhythmic hooks, and guitar riffs. Okay, so we've talked about what a hook actually is. Now I want to talk about what actually makes a hook. Like, what are the components that make up a hook, right? This can vary depending on what instrument you use, but generally speaking, there are some basic principles that are attached to any kind of hook, and they are as follows. 1, repetition. Not only of the notes in a phrase, for example, but repetition of the phrase itself. It's like that repeating of a certain series of notes over the course of a song that is designed to get stuck in the listener's head. 2, the hook should be simple and hummable. So hummable equals memorable, right? So like think back to any time you've listened to a song for the first time and notice if you ever remember humming back that melody without ever having heard it before, right? That's a good sign of a solid hook. So that's kind of like the benchmark. And number 3, generally speaking, all of these hooks are introduced at the very beginning of the song. It's not necessarily like set in stone. You can try things out. I've heard plenty of genres that have hooks in them that are not introduced at the beginning. But generally speaking, as far as like contemporary music, especially in the pop world, all the hooks are introduced at the beginning of the song. So take that for what it is, play around with that. But those are some general guidelines. Okay, so here are some guidelines to help you when writing song hooks. Number 1, keep it very short. So like up to 2 measures in length at most. Number 2, keep it very simple as far as like how many notes you use. You want to think hummable, right? So how many notes does it take to make something that's hummable? In the pop world, it's anywhere from 2 to 4 notes. Do I like to adhere to that for everything? Not necessarily, but it's a good place to start. So just kind of keep that in mind. Just think less notes and hummable. Number 3, grab attention with your hook. So what that means is have it at the very beginning of your song, but also have it very upfront in your mix too, because you want it to, again, grab attention. You want it to stand out. You want it to pull the listener in and maintain interest. Number 4, bring the hook in and out of the song. Meaning, if you structure your song to return to the hook in a very strategic way throughout the entirety of the song, that's going to really help to cement this kind of earworm in the listener's mind. And like I said before, these are going to vary depending on instrument. So I want to get into those right now. All right, so let's talk about actually crafting instrument-specific hooks. Today, I'm going to be focusing on melodic vocal hooks as opposed to lyrical hooks. These are, in essence, a wordless melody comprised of 2 to 4 notes and are carried by very specific vowel sounds. So here are some examples of some wordless melody hooks. A great example would be Uptown Funk, that do. Great example of a vocal hook, right? Look this up if I'm out of key, but hopefully you get the idea of what I'm talking about. Another great example of a vocal hook would be the song I'm Gonna Be, in parentheses, 500 Miles by the Proclaimers, that Scottish duo. And it's the da 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 da. Hopefully that doesn't get me flagged by YouTube, but that's a great example of a wordless melody, right? And another one, my personal favorite, is probably a little bit under the radar for most people, but it's the song Angel Eyes by Jerry Cantrell. Amazing vocal hook. It uses the most notes out of everyone here, but it's just like, So it's like, Good song. Check it out. So all melodies are carried by vowel sounds, right? But the thing that is really cool about these wordless melodies is that the use of just raw vowels on their own without attaching any words has this very deeply emotional impact on all of us, almost down to like a primal level. I just think about like anytime I hear the chorus to The Trooper from Iron Maiden, right? And immediately I'm just like, it's in my head. I'm just humming along to it. And there's no words, there's no story that goes along with it. And yet I'm always just, instantly recall that. There's so many examples that follow that, right? I'm sure you're thinking of them right now, but we'll get into other ones later. Okay, so after taking a look at those examples, here's what they all have in common, just to kind of recap everything. One, they use 2 to 4 notes. Two, they are comprised of a wordless melody, right? No lyrics at all. They're just vowel sounds. Three, they are up to 2 measures long. Four, lots of repetition, right? Not only in the way that the phrase is built using the notes, right? Repeating notes, but also repetition of the phrase itself. 5, the melodies are all very hummable, right? And number 6, they all pull from a pentatonic scale. It could be a major pentatonic scale or a minor pentatonic scale, but they're all pulling from the pentatonic scale. Okay, so taking all this information, I'm going to show you what I wrote using these guidelines. Okay, so here we are. Here is my rough vocal hook idea. Let's just take a quick listen. Okay, so now if we look at all the notes involved, right, we have 1 note, 2 notes, 3 notes. This is a repeat of this note, right? So 3 different notes here, 4 notes. That's it. So I'm just using 4 notes. Like I said before, typical hooks, 2 to 4 notes. You can even go as far as 5 sometimes. I'll talk about that in a second, but that's all I'm doing here. So there's a lot of repetition going on here. So there's repetition here of this phrase and this phrase. There's repetition of like this note and this note. Lots of stuff. These notes. I'm a sucker for like call and response type, vocal hooks. So I like to kind of set something up that leaves things tense, and then I like to have something that resolves that tension. And all of these notes can be found in the B minor pentatonic scale. That's all I did. So I just chose 4 out of the 5 notes, and there's my melody. Okay, so let's talk about guitar next. Okay, so let's talk about guitar-based hooks. So some examples that come to mind when it comes to guitar riffs that are really, really hooky. Seven Nation Army from the White Stripes, right? Everybody knows that one, especially if you're at like a sporting event. Under Pressure, that bass line. Such a massive hook. Another great 2-note hook would be Walk from Pantera, right? Amazing. Whole Lot of Love from Led Zeppelin, right? It's just 3 notes. Another one would be Superstition from Stevie Wonder, right? All of these are very different from each other. Some use only 2 notes. Some can go as far as 5 notes. Okay, so just to recap and tie everything together with this section, here are the commonalities that are shared amongst all these different songs with these hooks. 1, they all are comprised of anywhere from 2 up to 5 notes. 2, they are introduced at the very beginning of the song. 3, the length of the phrase is up to 2 measures long. Number 4, lots and lots of repetition, right? Some are repeated throughout the entirety of the whole song. 5, all these are pulling from a pentatonic scale of some sort, even if it's just like a major pentatonic or minor pentatonic or blues pentatonic, it's pulling from that. It's not like you have to use the pentatonic scale, but they just so happen to be pulling from that. And 6, once again, all of these riffs are super hummable, right? Easy to remember. So using all of that information, here is what I came up with. Okay, so here is what I came up with keeping all of those guidelines in mind. So let's listen real quick. Yeah. And maybe even that's a little too busy. So maybe we get rid of this. So right off the bat, there's a good amount of repetition happening at the beginning of each phrase. So it's like that. And the same thing here. And then right here, I played around with repetition of these notes. And then just little variations, right? Let's go a little bit deeper and just see the actual notes I'm using. So the first note we have was that F sharp. Yep, F sharp, E, and then I think this is D. Yep. So F sharp, E, and D. Back to E, right? So just three notes here in a four-note phrase. Then we have B, D, and E. So if you're following along, you'll see that it's just F sharp, E, D, and B. Just four notes. And I'm just messing around with playing with different combinations and trying to explore ways of creating repetition and variety. So one more time for good measure. I could even just do this, let this repeat again. I feel like that creates an even stronger hook. I think I'm going to keep it like that. Here's another one before we move on. Here's a bass hook. So this one is very different. And it follows more of like the drum pattern, which we'll get into in a second. But in this case, it's just two notes, right? I was trying to kind of think along the lines of Under Pressure and Walk, in that it's just comprised of two notes. Obviously, this is way heavier than Under Pressure. And you'll hear how this sounds in a bigger context when we get into the rhythmic part later. In fact, let's do it right now. Okay, so now let's talk about rhythmic song hooks. And I feel like these are very easily overlooked because, you know, when you think hooks, you think of things that are meant to be out in front more, like a vocal or a lead guitar or maybe a keyboard thing, something like that. But oftentimes I find that drums can be such a super, super strong hook. An example that comes to mind right off the top of my head is Scentless Apprentice from Nirvana. That whole doom doom ga doom da do 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 ga doom 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 ga doom ga do 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 ga doom. That is such a great beat, and it sets up the entire song. Right? It's kind of like everything is built upon that beat. It's the very first thing that you hear in the song, and it's just driving the whole thing. A couple other examples that come to mind would be I think it's Rest in Bones from Primus, the Brown album. That's another one. It's like doom ga doom ga do 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 ga doom ga doom ga doom 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 ga. To me, it was such a just a memorable just drum hook. I found myself like beatboxing it later on, you know, after I heard the song. Doom ga doom ga doom 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 ga doom ga doom ga doom doom doom. Another great one that's like coming to me just now is Sunday Bloody Sunday from U2, right? That snare pattern. Da, 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 do, do, da, da, do, da, da, do, da, 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 da. There are so many different types of drum hooks. We Will Rock You could be thought of as a rhythmic hook. I mean, you know, it's that and a vocal, right? Just the boom, boom, clap, boom, boom, clap. The other one, though, that I think everybody knows is When the Levee Breaks from Led Zeppelin. And I wanted to take that and kind of make that my inspiration for this piece. But before I do, I just kind of want to recap what all of these hooks have in common. One, the drum beat is introduced at the beginning of the song. Two, it defines what the song is, like the rest of the song is built upon this hook. Three, once again, it's up to two measures in length. And finally, number four, this hook is very hummable or beatboxable, right? Like I like to do mouth drums, like right? It's very memorable in that sense. Using all of those elements, this is what I came up with. So I wanted to take the vibe from When the Levee Breaks. And you can even see I pulled from a stock tune track groove. It's not stock, actually. It's from one of their expansion packs, but Funky Levee. So it's like definitely, you know, inspired by, if not completely copying When the Levee Breaks from Led Zeppelin. But I took that and had my way with it. And now it sounds like this. So particularly that kick drum, dun 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 dun, right? I kind of played around with adding some nice embellishments there, but I'm gonna bring in the bass now so you can hear how things can really hit home. Yeah, to me, that sounds like a very solid hook to build an entire song off of. And though I haven't built an entire song yet, here's what it sounds like when they're all played together. Okay, so here's what I've got. Not really a song just yet, but I want you to see how all the hooks build out from each other. Some of these work together, some of them might not so much, but having them all laid out like this just gives me stuff to kind of like pull from and see if I can build it into something else. So let's let it play out. Had to hear it a second time. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. And like I said before earlier, there are a number of different ways to create a song hook, right? Everything from like lyrical song hooks to song structure song hooks to production song hooks. So if you'd like to see a part 2 to this video, definitely drop a comment and let us know. And if you would like help taking your song to the next level, I invite you to check out my profile on airgigs.com to see if we would be a good fit working together. Thanks again.